So, where did you begin, and where was your interest in tattoos? What made you want to become a tattoo artist?
Man, I feel like it all starts when I was living back in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Because where I grew up in the barrio that I grew up in, everybody that I would see that had tattoos, I always assumed they were just older.
Okay.
But turns out they were just my age. They just had all these tattoos that made them look older.
Yeah.
So, but the thing that would connect us was football. We would all play football together. And then one day we just finished playing, and they're like, "Hey, you want to get a tattoo?" I'm like, "No, not really." But then I ended up getting a tattoo because I wanted to be cool. But then once they were tattooing me, I was like, "This shit hurts. I don't want to do this. I don't want to get tattooed. This shit hurts." So I ended up getting a little cross, like the webbing in my finger, that I had to cover up when I started coming to school here.
Wow. So that was your first one.
Yeah, this one right here. Because I had to cover it up here, I had to put makeup over it. Because the principals, I guess, when you enroll to the school, you have to talk to the principal for some weird reason.
That's interesting.
Especially when you're like a transfer.
How they look at everything, they analyze every
Yeah,
little thing.
I think they just want to see what kind of kid you are, I guess. And then it was during the time where both high schools had the very problematic / racist principals. I don't know if you heard about that.
I don't think I have, but I was during an era where there was a lot of fights. They needed to call the gang unit.
Kind of. But at the time, both Woodland and Pioneer had some just very problematic principals.
Okay.
And then, yeah, they're just like, yeah, just cover it. But we need to make sure that you're not affiliated in any sort of gang activity. But
Okay.
I wasn't. I never was.
That makes sense.
So, yeah, just, I guess, being around the tattoos and just a lot of graffiti when I was a kid, it just was remained in the back of my head. And then Mexican architecture, like a lot of mosaics, it was very interesting. Just having that artistry, right? But then I want to say, actually getting into tattoos, like pre-COVID, I was working at a restaurant. I was a sous chef, under a chef.
Okay.
And then everything started shutting down, so I really didn't have anything to do. And then I just had a light bulb idea. I was like, oh shit, maybe I should tattoo myself. I got a machine, bought it off Amazon, came, and when I tattooed myself for the first time, I was just like, oh, hell excited. But I didn't really know anything besides the few YouTube videos that I watched. I ended up scarring myself. I went too deep.
You too deep, as in like you went into the skin past.
I went past the layer that you're not supposed to be past that.
Ah.
So essentially, I just gave myself a very big tattooed scar in my calf, which I haven't covered up yet, but it will be eventually. If not, if I don't remove it. And then a couple months passed by, and then a friend of mine, he saw one of the tattoos. He's like, "Hey, who did that? Because no one's tattooing." And he's like, "Who did it?" I'm like, "Oh, I did it. I tattooed myself." And he's like, "Oh, you want to tattoo me?" And I was like, "Give me a few months. I want to get better at this eventually."
I see.
So I practiced on, fruits. I would buy fake skin off Amazon, and then eventually I just started practicing on myself again.
Okay.
And I got up to a point where I'm like, I think I can tattoo you now. And then when I tattooed him, he's like, shit, let's go big or go big or go home.
Okay.
So I ended up doing this typical dragon on like a swarm. And then I told him, like, this is not going to be good, but it's not going to be bad. So we finished, and then I looked at it, and there's some solid lines that were in the correct layer of the skin, and then some were just above it, like they were just scratched into there. So by the time we hit, I think, mid-2021, I guess, word of the mouth. A lot of people, I'd have a little setup in my apartment, and I'd just tattoo people out of my apartment.
Wow.
But then it came up to a certain point where I was like, all right, COVID's still going on, it's still a thing. And then I was trying to be very mindful of my family, so I was like, all right, I don't think I can do this anymore at the apartment.
Understandable.
Yeah, so around that time, it was like October, I started working at Costco, because Omar told me to apply. Hey, you should apply. I work here. If they hired me, they could probably hire you. I'm like, all right, cool. Ended up hiring me. And then in my first week, I got off early one shift, and then I went to the meat market in Torito.
That's
And
the
then
place.
it is the place, man. They got some good arrachera. If you want some carne asada, just go there.
Thankful one of my boys works there. His family actually owns it.
Nice.
It's not too bad.
And then I was leaving the store, and then I see that there's this tattoo shop that's being opened. It's opened already. So I see the big tattoo sign on top, and I'm like, I want to go check it out. Probably still open. I go try to open the door. It's locked. I'm like, wow, they closed early. And then there's a barbershop right next to it, Uppercuts. And then I heard music going on in the back, and then I smelled carne asada. So I'm like, oh, maybe they're just having a barbecue. So I went to the back, and then the owner of the barbershop, Mijo, he's like, you want to get a haircut? I'm like, oh no, I was just checking out the tattoo shop, see if anybody was in there. And the owner stood up. He's like, hey, my name's Miguel. Nice to meet you. I'm the owner of the tattoo shop. Do you want to get tattooed or something? I have a special going on. I'm like, actually, yeah, why not? I ended up booking an appointment for that week, and then I went on one of my days off. Got the tattoo, and then we're just chopping it up. He asked me where I got my other tattoos from, but those were the ones that I did on myself.
Oh.
And then out of the fear of being like rejected or just shit on, because prior to that, me and Omar would go to other shops and just ask for apprenticeships, but they were just a lot of excuses, like this and that. You've already tattooed yourself. I don't think this can work.
Wow.
So I told him like, shit, I tattooed it. And then me expecting like a very bad or negative comment, he's like, that's actually pretty decent for somebody that just picked up a machine. And he showed me his arm. Like, shit, when I picked it up, this is my shit. And then I was just telling him that I was interested into becoming an apprentice, and that nobody had given me the opportunity prior to that. So towards the end of the tattoo, he was like, hey man, if you're serious, come by next week. Bring by some artwork from your portfolio if you have some. And then we'll talk about it. See if you want to be committed to this. Went back the next week, and before you know it, I've been there now. And then I told Miguel, the owner, about Omar. And I was like, hey, if you think my artwork's cool, you should check out my homie. He's much better than me.
Yeah, I've seen his work. Seen how he can whip up a masterpiece in 15 minutes.
He's dope. He's really dope.
Yeah.
And then he started working with me. It was really cool working with your homie. Shit, it's super dope. Yeah. And then eventually it was another apprentice came in, so it's just three apprentices currently. And then we finished the apprenticeship in January, and that's when we become officially tattoo artists. Because right now we're tattoo apprentices.
So you're a tattoo artist, and now you're gonna get your own apprentice, huh?
No, you see, that's the thing. It's just like when you become a tattoo artist, I think a lot of things have to happen before you even consider having an apprentice. Because I feel like I'm not a level where I could just teach somebody, hey, this is what you gotta do. Because I don't have those years of experience. I mean, I've been tattooing for 2-3 years now, but I wouldn't consider myself to have the experience or knowledge yet to bring on somebody and be like, all right, you're gonna learn this and that.
I see.
So eventually, maybe I'd consider it, but as of now, I just want to keep learning. Just keep learning.
Maybe one day you can help me out with this. When I was a sophomore, former friend of mine, well, still a friend, stabbed me with a pencil. As you can see, there's still this mark that I've been left with. Maybe eventually this can be a piece of art.
Eventually. Just gotta let me know, man. Yeah, that's how I got into tattooing, which not a lot of people know, I guess, because when we go play soccer, it's just like
They assume
they're like,
yeah.
Oh, you probably just are this kind of person because of the way you act, or they just see a personality when I'm playing, right?
Yeah.
And then they talk to me outside, and they're like, you do this? Like, wow, like, holy shit. And then, it's just, not a lot of people know that I do things besides soccer. So,
well, I mean, not a lot of people know that I do stuff besides making a podcast. Which, by the way, like and subscribe. Leave some comments below.
Yeah, but it's just, I feel like tattooing has definitely been a very, very good journey, for sure.
Yeah, it's
Is
well noted.
yeah, I mean, especially it's now since tattooing is getting very popular, and I've been seeing a lot more. You know, just being more accepted because recently last year I went to Mexico, and then my worry was, man, I have all these tattoos, and I haven't been to Mexico since I moved back when I lived there.
Okay.
So I was just like, man, I'm worried. You know, like, how are people gonna react to seeing me with all these tattoos? And then it's just that it's expected because I feel like it's not as popular as where I'm from exactly in Mexico. But if you were to go to like a bigger city, maybe. But where I'm from specifically, it's just like, oh shit, who is that guy? You know? They just assume the worst. They see a guy with tattoos, whether it be here, whether it be in Mexico, they're like, oh, it's a guy with tattoos.
Well, that's the good thing about society. Things change, just like how you were mentioning. Tattoos are becoming more of the status quo everywhere.
Yeah, because damn near everybody has a tattoo. And if they don't, they're going to get one eventually.
Hey, am I not? I mean,
Yeah, it's up to
never
you.
never exclude it.
It's
Just
up to
throwing
you.
that out there.
Nah, it's up to you. But yeah, it's just, man. You got anything else? Any other topics?
No, I think we're good.
You good? That sounded so like